Welcome to Burned and Better. I'm your host, Dr. Denisa Weber, a seven-figure CEO, speaker, mother, entrepreneur, and chiropractor. Over the last 15 years, I've faced the highest highs and the lowest lows of entrepreneurship, motherhood, and leadership. I've burned more times than I can count, but every time I've found a way through and come out better. This isn't about polished highlight reels. It's about the real, unfiltered side of leading, the kind of conversations usually kept behind closed doors. Here, I share my own stories and sit down with leaders who've stumbled, recalibrated, and built something worth leading. So if you've ever felt the weight of success or wonder what it looks like to fall hard but rise stronger, you're in the right place. Let's normalize the messy middle of leadership and step into the episode. Hey guys, welcome to another week of Burned and Better. I'm so excited I get to have Dr. Ben Rall on. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Excited to be here.
Yes. So let me give you a quick synopsis here. Dr. Ben Rall was born and raised in the great state of South Dakota, where he owned and operated one of the largest chiropractic and wellness clinics in the United States. For the last 20 plus years, he has worked with businesses, churches, and corporations of all sizes and created an unmatched corporate wellness program for today's business model. He was the official chiropractor for Team USA Wrestling, weightlifting, and judo at the 2012 London Olympics. In 2016, Dr. Ben Rall authored the book Cooperative Wellness, in which he lays out a powerful, simplified approach to help readers be part of the healthcare solution and achieve wellness for themselves and those around them. He's authored his second book, Designed to Heal, a 365-day daily devotional in 2023. He is also the host of 5-star rated podcast. You need to listen to it, Designed to Heal, that shares stories, research, insights, and helpful information in the world of health and wellness, which I'll put show notes. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, guys. So if you want to connect with it. He currently resides in Orlando, Florida with his wife, Megan, and 2 children, Jack and Grace. He is the owner of Achieve Wellness Clinic, where he currently practices and sees hundreds of patients every week in the Central Florida area. He's committed to educating and empowering individuals on how to apply a vitalistic model of healthcare to their lives and live well. Well, welcome. That is quite a resume.
Well, I'm laughing because the topic of our conversation, it's like the thing you hear so much, right? So that's what it sounds like when you write a bio, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm laughing as you're reading it because I'm like, ooh, I could tell you how that didn't go. I can tell you all of the messes there and the failures there and the struggles there. So yeah, make no mistake, when we sum up 21 years of practice and share the highlights, sure, right? As many beautiful things there, but lots of scrapes and scars and bruises through that for sure. But yeah, Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And just even looking at you've worked with inside corporate, you've worked inside churches, this is, you've been exposed to a lot of people. And obviously that the person that it took for you to do those things, you had to be a certain kind of person to do those things. And sometimes you're marked and shaped by and refined by the things that we've been marked by, the things that we've walked through that have been interesting, but they've left a mark for us in our own leadership and have forced us to become better versions of ourselves, where we're I will never do that again. Noted. And this is who I'm becoming. So is there something that comes to mind when you're looking through this that you're that's something I'd love to share?
Yeah. I'll do my best here to make it make sense, but I think it's important that I would share my initial struggles. So went to Northwestern Chiropractic, and I had my story of how I became a chiropractor. I won't share it, but it was a chiropractic miracle. It changed my life. I was training for the Olympics. I got really sick. The medical model destroyed me. Chiropractic saved my life. I want to be a chiropractor, right? So I have this chiropractic miracle story. I'm not from a family of chiropractors. I wasn't raised on a holistic commune, just kind of raised traditional. At school, I really fall in love with the philosophy of chiropractic. I hear Reggie Gold speak. It changes my life. The light bulbs went off in my head. So, and then I go back to my hometown, kind of the hometown hero where I was from. And my wife's a lawyer, and she's going to practice, or she's going to be in the office with me. So on the surface, it has chiropractic miracle story, love the philosophy, in my hometown, have my wife that's a lawyer. We're just going to go crush it, right? Mm-hmm. And I proceeded to fail miserably for about 4 years. Meanwhile, some of my friends that other doctor friends that they were just blowing it up. And I was kind of a leader in school. I mean, I was kind of I've always been a natural kind of, maybe not the leadership that I would say now, but I was always the class president and the president of the club. I was president of philosophy club, president of Gonstead club, all of those things, right? Doing speaking engagement, bringing people in, holding seminars, like just that's what I did. So I thought all that would just translate naturally to practice. And I got humbled so much to the point that we were going bankrupt. We were losing everything. I remember shutting off I'm sharing this because might be somebody that's listening. I want you to understand in a sense how bad it was. I remember we shut off our answering machine because I didn't want to hear any more messages from the creditors and the people that were. I remember being in my office. I was hardly seeing anybody because I didn't even know what to do. And I remember like waiting for them to come and take my keys, like how embarrassing I thought it was going to be when they came to shut me down in front of the two patients that would be in my office. And so I had a bit of a come to Jesus moment. I was so Denise, I was so depressed in that season, and I'm a man of faith. I mean, it's a big part of my life. And I mean, this is embarrassing to say, but there was about a year I didn't even feel worthy to like sleep in my bedroom with my wife. I mean, it was just that, right? Then we end up having our first child, my daughter. And I remember I have this vivid memory of me being in my daughter was laying in her crib. My wife and I were talking, and it was over. And I remember saying like, well, I don't know, what am I going to do? Like, I love chiropractic. I love the principle of chiropractic, but I couldn't make it happen. I was like, do I go teach? Do I sell cars? I mean, these were the conversations that we were having. And my wife, thank goodness for my wife, she just said, and this is going to sound cliche, but she just said to me, she said, honey, I love you. I don't care. Like, we can live on a homeless shelter. Like, I don't care. Just tell them the truth. Now, I would love to have believed that I was telling them the truth then. I wasn't a fraud. I mean, I wasn't doing anything unethical. I just was, I guess looking back, I was holding back. Okay. And I think that was one of my first lessons, Denisa, was you can be thinking that you're not holding back, or whatever word you want to use. Okay. Living in fear. I would have told you, I don't care what people think. I would have told you that. But then I look back and I'm like, but I clearly did, because I wouldn't really make the recommendations that I believed to be true. I wouldn't make the same way that I was taking care of my own family. I'm just my family once a week, have forever, like this is how I roll. But I'm afraid to tell the patient that because I don't know what they'll think or what they'll say or this other thing. And so I made a decision in that moment that I was going to do something so simple, which is I was just going to make the same recommendations for my patients as I would for my own family. And let the cards fall where they may. So just to give perspective on this, at that time, I was about 80 visits a week. Now, for some people, different models, that might be fine. For me, that was not working out. In about 18 months after that, in a 900 square foot office, we were seeing over 1,000 visits a week, solo doctor. Okay. Wow. So it was crazy. I mean, to the point that literally the chief of the fire department came in to shut me down because there was too many people in the office. I was breaking code, and he became a patient in my office because when he came in, the staff just gave him paperwork and he thought I was a charlatan. He signs up for care, comes out having a miracle, ended up having his son get adjusted who was in a coma, who breaks out of his coma. Like, you can't really make up these stories, right? But it was, Denisa, I had to hit rock bottom. I think if I would have went into practice and just like some of these guys, and God bless these doctors, that men and women that just take off, right, and break records, and they're unbelievable, and I respect the people that do that. I think that potentially would have been worse for me. Since that day, when we had our first child, we lost our first child in a miscarriage, and I remember that being like, I never thought about that possibility. It's made me treasure my children even more. Right? Failing in practice like that, like unabashedly in front of my friends, in front of my family, in front of everybody that told me I'd never make it, in front of everybody that told me you shouldn't go into practice by yourself. You don't got what it takes. You don't have what it takes. And for all of that to be becoming true right in front of them, and feeling so embarrassed. I didn't want to go to family Christmas. I didn't want to talk to anybody about how the office was going. I mean, it was embarrassing. Right. And so then to come out of that was a powerful thing for me. And it was some brothers and sisters that came around me that in chiropractic, some of who that just kind of took me under their wing a little bit and invited me to their offices and brought me to a seminar. And even though I knew this stuff, I was so down and kind of beat up and broken. I needed some people to come alongside me. And so that's kind of where it started. I don't know if there's any questions about that you want to ask me, but.
No, I mean, thank you for sharing that. It's a very vulnerable story. And I mean, I relate to it personally as well. There was a time when, even in practice in the very beginning, I started as a part-time. I mean, I had my daughter and started my solo practice when she was 2 months old. And I had no idea what I was doing. I loved chiropractic. And I just was like, people are going to come. And I don't know, I approached chiropractic and business more in a self-righteous way than the beginning. Like, I knew everything. And I was very similar to you of like, not that this was you, but this is me. But just like, I didn't need anyone's help. And it's like, I needed to be humbled. And also while I could get a room full, I didn't know how to charge. And so here I am paying a nanny to watch my child while I'm serving in the red. That's a problem. Like, that's a problem. And it was facing worth and facing the fact that people may not like me, and worrying about what other people think. And so I love the story when you're sharing like this kind of like timid version of you was not going to do it. And it's like, that wasn't how God built you to be either.
What was interesting, and then I had another experience. I think I had another fear of practicing subluxation-based chiropractic and family wellness, and I practiced in a very medical state. And so they didn't like how I rolled, even though I was not making a lot of impact. But I think I was always afraid that I was like a target, right? That they were going to come after me. And I think I had this fear of like getting in trouble or something like this, right? And I ended up getting a board complaint from a patient. Okay. And here's what happened. And this is why I share this story. So it was a patient who literally had a miracle in my office. Okay. Fibromyalgia. Wow. She was in the newspaper with her story. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And I had done care on her. She was like debilitated, fibromyalgia, couldn't work, began getting care, her life restored, goes back to work. And she's on a shopping, now she's on like a shopping trip with a friend, right? Like they were going to go up, I don't know, out of town and shop. And she's telling her friend about everything. And so the active care for this patient was about 3 months. Okay. And then she was in wellness care. But the person said, "Oh, that doctor should have never seen you 30 times. That's way too much. Like a chiropractic, they should only see you like 5 or 6 times. Like he overtreated you."
What?
And so she literally made a complaint to the board about that. And I remember and I had to go sit down. I had to take off the day. I had to drive to the board meeting. They sit me down. They had to tell me how horrible of a person I was.
Oh,
and I remember having a moment, Denisa, where I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like I had never considered like the patient was going to complain that had a miracle. You know, like I can't stop that. Like, my goodness, if that's where this is at, then I just am going I'm going unshackled. Like if that's I'm just, no way. Like I'm done. I am done playing this game. If people are going to turn me into the board for healing, then my Lord, I got nothing. So I was just like an uncaged animal at that point, because like my worst kind of nightmare had happened in a sense. I'd failed practice and I had a board complaint. I was like, well, what do you do from there? Right. And it's like, I mean, honestly though, but it was freeing, right? Because it was like, okay, I'm still standing. Let's roll. And so when that happened, but the next step probably that's important is this. So I was so consumed and so passionate once things started turning around that, Denisa, I would say that and I can only say this on hindsight, although I'd like to pretend, think I'm a nice guy and a good boss and all those things. I definitely would say that I did not treat my staff well. They were either on my mission with me or get off the train. Okay. Now you can build an office like that. I did it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did hit the pinnacle. I saw $1,000 a week solo office, cash-based practice, no insurance, crushing it, doing the thing. Okay. And it's wild. It's a wild ride. All right. And I'm thankful for it. But I trampled over a lot of people doing that. Okay. It was my way or the highway. It was, I don't care what you think. This is what we're doing. And again,
Mm-hmm.
that's a way, that's one model of leadership,
Yeah.
ish. I don't even know if it's leadership, but it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in an era, maybe some of my mentors were be like, don't ever, don't have like, don't have like relationships, like don't be friendly with your staff. Like they're just your staff. Like don't,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember, and I listen, and I listened to that. And
Mm-hmm.
I honestly regret that. I learned, but
Yeah.
I love my staff. I love my patients. And so I used to churn through a lot of staff and there was a lot of turnover. And of course, it was always their fault because they weren't hardcore enough and they weren't committed enough and they didn't care enough and they didn't get it enough and they didn't this and they didn't that.
Mm-hmm.
Now my staffs, most of them have been with me. This office we have right now has been open 9 years. A couple of them with me 6 years, 5 years, right? And I
Yeah.
have a new associate doctor that's with us. And my heart for how I care for them is much, much different. And that was a humbling time for me because I had to I don't know what the right word would be, Denisa, but I think that it's really easy when you're at the top of the food chain of your office, you're the doctor,
Mm-hmm.
you're the owner. Sure, we have coaches, some of us and things like that, but we're mostly not accountable to anyone, God. But
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to just be a jerk. It's easy to blame
Yep.
everybody else. It's
Yep.
easy to, the numbers are down or the stats are this or this or this or this, the event didn't fill up or people fell off track. And it's just like we run our mouths and we blame the team and
Yeah.
we blame everybody else. And I had to, like, I've kind of, there's accountability and that's real, but there's
Yeah.
a very low functioning way of doing this, which is really just being a tyrant, right? And
Yes.
blaming
Yeah.
everybody else. And nobody wants to work for somebody like that, right?
No.
Not for a long time. Like you can move the needle for a while. You can go down and throw things around the office and tell everybody they're going to fire them if you don't, we don't grow and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're like, okay, fine, that moves the needle for a minute, but who wants to be around that? Who
No.
wants to be around that? And so
Yeah.
that was probably my next evolution
Uh-huh.
of leadership growth, right? Was
Uh-huh.
kind of a maturing of that. At the same time, maybe coinciding with that, I sold my practice X amount of years ago and I moved to Florida to help run a coaching organization. And I did this story in my head, Denisa, which was, hey, I can help X amount of people in my office. If I can go help, 200 doctors and they all help more people, then we're making more of an impact, right?
Right.
And,
Right.
and that's not a wrong answer. I've got great
Right.
coaches that are friends that are coaches. Here's what it was. Here's what I needed to realize. That wasn't the call on my life. That
Mm.
wasn't what I was supposed to do.
Mm.
And so there was also, I think, a leadership principle, if I could even say that, is you got to know who you are, right?
Mm.
Like each of our offices, even though we don't want our offices to be built on us and on personality, like at some level, you got to get over that because it still is. It just
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Like I understand why we say that because if I'm going to scale and if I'm going to do this and it can't be personality driven, but like
Yeah.
I mean, a church is personality driven, even though we're all there to see Jesus. But like, you love your pastor. If the
Yeah.
pastor leaves, most people don't like that. Like, we got to live in reality here.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when I am in practice now, like I think that what I would like to believe about myself at this point is that I am in a place that is authentic. Like what you see is what you get. I was just
Mm-hmm.
this morning with one of my patients. She was crying her eyes out. She's going through heck, autistic child, trouble at home, had a really horrible morning at the dentist with her autistic son trying to hold him
Mm-hmm.
down. And she's just bawling. And I'm just in my office, middle of shift, people in the waiting room. It's a busy morning and I'm just in there praying with her and weeping with her. 15 years ago, she would have annoyed me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't have
Yeah.
time for that.
Yeah.
Lay down and let me adjust you.
Yeah.
And listen, if that's you, like you maybe don't want to hear what I have to say right now, but if there's something inside of you that doesn't feel right with that, like you have a check in your spirit about that, like, and you just want to wrap that person up and pray with them or love on them or, like hug them or whatever, like do that. So the freedom that I feel now, and then what happens, and then I'll stop talking here, Denise, what happens is then I believe that then God brings those people in that need that. And when you're trying to be somebody else, something else, even if it's good, right? Like, it's not like you're evil. I'm just saying, you look up to somebody, they do this, or I should do kids because they do kids. I don't know, whatever. You have to do what God's called you to do. And so I'm 47 now, 21 years in practice, probably 21,000 patients, a couple of offices. Like, the freedom I feel now to just deliver who I think God called me to be and talk about the things I want to talk about is a good place to be. But I don't know if there's any way, I don't know if I could have learned that any other way. That's the rub, right? It's kind of that failing forward model, of just,
absolutely.
I don't know what your take on all that is, but.
No, I mean, I appreciate you sharing kind of the iterations of like, kind of like this, the arc of your story and how like you've gone from one thing to the next. And I agree. Like when you have those people in your office and they are like, I would have a full waiting room and somebody would come. I see that they get off the table and like it's completely soaked on the paper. And they turn over and you're like, hold it. Like, like what's going on? And, or, just usually the schedule will end up organically working itself out, or somebody has missed their appointment or something. Like it's like the Lord orchestrates those people to have a little more space and time. I don't know. It usually happens like that in my office where we're like, we were supposed to be there for that person today. This is how it has created itself space for us. But I do love that because yes, you would get annoyed if you're only on like numbers and sure, you're just trying to like, we stayed on schedule and we saw everyone that we were supposed to see today and our cancellations are not, we didn't have any cancellations. Yes, this is a successful day. And it's like, is it though? Is it, what is the definition of success? Because if I'm going to be as hands and feet, would I have heard the whisper in the agenda of today? And so it's kind of like this, what I heard from you is just like this, this presence that you have to be in where you're like, yes, I have my due diligence for this day. Yes, we are organized and we have the systems at play and yes, these are the goals for today. And also if I feel that whisper, I'm not going to negate that. Like, I'm going to be present enough to where it's not about me. It's not about me,
Amen. Amen to that. Yeah. I think the tricky part, Denisa, is, I don't know if this is the right way of saying it, but some of this, like, you don't know till you go through it. Like you think you're not that until you look back and realize, oh my gosh, I was focused on that. Or we just had our end of the year review 2025, plan for 2026, and you look at numbers and the stuff that we measure, and there's parts of it that I'm like, oh my gosh. And then there's parts
like
of it
what?
that are beautiful. Well, so for us, like we measure like, of course, total patients or new visits and stuff, but then my pediatric patients, okay, like number of pediatric. And I played a game with myself. My staff had gotten everything ready. And I asked myself, like, how many pediatric new patients did I think that we had this year, right? And my number in my head was not even close to the number that we had, right? And this is, I think, another game that we play with ourselves, which is, and not all doctors are like this, right? The book Good to Great or something. It's like they gotta face the brutal facts, right? And we don't sometimes we don't like to do that because we don't like we don't like the numbers. And so then we just live in la la land, right? We don't want to have the conversation. And so I would have said I probably was like that for some season of my life. Now I kind of am the opposite. Like I like give me the brutal facts. Like I'd much rather deal with that so we can talk, because then we can just grow through it. We can figure it out. We can do something about it. But I think my encouragement is you'll lie to yourself. Some of the lies we'll say are I don't have the time. some of the lies will say, or I don't have the capacity, or I don't have the staff, I don't have the space, I don't have the money, I don't have those things. And I'm not denying reality. I'm just saying, so I have a new doctor that just started with me. So he's, beautiful guy. He's an amazing, healing miracle. He had MS and was healed through chiropractic. Like, it's an amazing story, right? But he worked in my office for several years, went to chiropractic school, and but he's really struggling. Right. And he's just like, and so we had a long conversation yesterday, and he's just revealing, like, man, like, being a doctor is so much harder than I thought. Like, self-conscious, even though he has this amazing story, like, you think, dude, he would just go out there and blow it up. Right. And he's like, I didn't realize, and some of what you brought up, Doc, he said, like, it's really, he goes, I could send people to you, Ben, all day long. But I feel like if I'm trying to get them to come see me, that it's like, I don't like, I feel like I'm using them, like I'm selling them, right? And I'm just like, oh man, I remember these thoughts, right? I remember,
1000%.
yeah. So part of you, I was like, so thank goodness I can be mentor for him and help him through that. But you might be listening to this today, and you might not even believe that you think that way. I think those blind spots that we have, and I'm sure if I got on this show 10 years from now, I'd have a bunch of other ones to share with you of where I'm at right now. But I would just say, man, the and maybe this is the last thought I'll share with you. So probably the final freeing thing for me has been, at least at this juncture, is, faith is a big, big part of my life. And I was told at times, in practice, like, you don't share that, you don't bring that into your office, it's chiropractic. And so, like, now if you walk into my office, I'm like unapologetically blaring worship music. I have a 6-foot picture of the face of Jesus on my wall in my adjusting bays for all to see. Like, all I talk about in my office is the Lord is your healer. Now, that's not for everybody. I had something that happened to me. I was driving home one night. This is a long time ago, years ago, and I've never heard the audible voice of the Lord, but I've when he's talking to you, or I feel like you do. And and he said, Ben, you talk a lot about healing, and that's amazing, but you don't talk a lot about the healer. And that was a moment where I was like, pull over the side of the road and, bawl for a while. And I just made a commitment at that time that I was not going to talk about healing and not talk about the healer. And so I lead with that now. Now, is there people that are offended by that? Yeah. There's also people that have been saved sitting on my adjusting table. Right? Not because of me, but because we give them a place. These are people that maybe never will step foot in a church, right? Never will, whatever, or been hurt by whatever the story is. And so I think that was at this point, that was like my final freedom, right? I'm not a chiropractor that's a Christian. I'm a Christian that's a chiropractor. And listen, I love chiropractic. Like, it's easy for it to be an idol for me, because I can do it all the time. Like, I'm 21 years in, like, I lay hands on people all day long. I love it. People are like, you work hard, you get tired. I'm like, I don't know, I'm just built for this. This is what I do. And I love it. And so there were seasons where chiropractic was an idol in my life. Right. And I've been convicted of that, right? It was easier for me to talk about chiropractic than it was to talk about the Lord. And you see this in chiropractic. There's people that are more comfortable talking about how bad sugar is for you, but they won't talk about subluxation. I'm like, listen, and I don't care. Talk about sugar too. I talk about it. Whatever you want to talk about. Detox, take care of yourself, get some rest, go for a walk. Amen. And get adjusted. Yeah. And so I don't, maybe I'm just getting old and grouchy, but I don't apologize for that position anymore, right? Yeah. I love the Lord, and I make a recommendation for your spine the same way I do for my family. The same thing that's allowed my family to be raised drug-free, out of the medical system, thriving, healthy, wonderful lives. That why would I not want that for you? And why would I not show you exactly what I did and what we do to have that? Not everybody has to do, but that's what Dr. Ben Rall does, and I don't apologize for that anymore. But the part that I think I'm learning is doing that with a love and a grace and a humility. That is something that I didn't necessarily, and I still probably struggle with that at times, because we live in a crazy world and we hear all the nightmares of people come in destroyed by the medical system, and I get mad and throw things because of that. But hopefully it's a turning the tables over, holy, righteous, holy discontent scenario. I'm not perfect on that, but that's probably where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Well, what I hear from you is just clear is kind. You've become more clear, and like, you were certain, but like, it's your confidence. And even when you're talking about your associate, it's like, we've all gone through that. It's like, you're having to build on your own certainty. You're having to become more confident, and you don't build that confidence until you have enough reps to look back and say, like you have, and that's just part of learning anything. Like you're having to, and that's why the more you do, the faster that confidence can come. But with you, and you're talking about your faith, like the certainty and the clarity that you have, then matched with the grace needed to kind of like almost be like water, like to feel the ebb and flow of a conversation. Where is an entry point? Where is there a softness that might be relatable for them, or is this not a place to have this conversation? Maybe they need the adjustment and the feeling of the presence of where I come from.
Yeah.
And there's just so much new, like almost like a communication nuance that the Lord is able to give you in a time in that present space. Like, this is where I need you to be. Just be here. You don't have to say anything. They're going to, you're going to have enough reps with them that eventually they're going to start asking you about what makes you different. Or it's going to be a period of time where it's like, I've got to tell you something, like, and you just, I don't know why I need to feel like I need to tell you this, but I need to tell you this. And so it's just, I do know why, because it's the Lord will prompt us in that. But that's what I feel like for you. It's like this unapologetic season of being boldly in your faith. And that has obviously gotten to this place because of the things that you have navigated in the past. And I mean, I so appreciate you speaking on that, and also bringing up the fact that, yes, it can be an idol. Like chiropractic can totally be an idol. I've been in rooms like this, and I think I've been there in the past. Like I've totally been there in the past where I could talk more about chiropractic than I could the Lord. And I appreciate you just calling that out.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that.
Yeah. Well, and the corollary for that is in our patients' lives where, I don't know how long you've been in practice, but like what's funny is, I remember in the early days, like, the wellness world and stuff, it wasn't that big. Like now, like there's, people, our patients that can turn wellness or health into an idol in their own life. Right. And so it's this endless barrage of 84 therapies they have to do. And, it used to take everything you had to get somebody to take a vitamin. Now I'm like, I spend time getting people off of supplement, right? It's this weird world that we live in now. And so I do think that it is, we can also help our patients. I think that's been something is, I also want people to know where healing comes from, right? It certainly doesn't come from me. There's one healer. His name is not Ben. And so, I think to be in that trying to be in that pure place of, and that's why I love chiropractic more than ever, because the profession that we get to be part of and operate in is so beautiful. Like, we're with humans, other children of God. We get to use our hands, lay them on people, talk to them, minister to them, love on them, be loved by them. Like, there's not, and talk about healing. Like, talk about like the creation. Like, if I was a mortgage banker or something, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I would do. I'm sure it's a great job. I'm so thankful that we get to like take care of humans and talk about God's design. And like, I feel so blessed to do that. There's tough days, right? There's the stuff, right? But like, compared to what? Like, it's amazing. And so I remember one of my mentors, last thing I'll say, then he said, but I remember he said one time, you don't get burned off. You don't get burned out. You get off purpose. Right. And there's truth there. Of course, there's extension. There's too much. You take anything too far, but it's a reminder. If you're a chiropractor, I don't care how you practice or your model, or I don't mean any of that. I just mean, relatively just this thing we do. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And if you're worn out, burned out, I assure you, it's not chiropractic. Like we've forgotten who we are and the people that we're serving. And I think failing early in practice hopefully made me not take it for granted, because I remember the days of no new patient, the weeks of no new patients, and the weeks after weeks of not being able to pay my bills and not knowing what to do and failing. And now, this long into it, I'm so thankful every time a new patient comes in and trusts me to be their chiropractor. Like, praise God. I don't take that for granted. I don't, some of these people that get this real high and mighty, like, we will see if we accept you. I don't roll like that. Like, I'm like, I'm honored. Like, I'm not the
Mm-hmm.
king and you're my little minion and I will decide if I'm going to bless you with, no, no, no.
Yeah.
It's not how I roll. Like,
Yeah.
some people practice like that. That
Yeah.
might be you rock on or get convicted. I don't know. But like, that's not how I do it. Like,
Yeah.
they're allowing me to lay my hands on them and speak life into them. And like, they're going to pay me
Yeah.
for that, to do that. Like, I will do my best to serve them well.
No, I love that. I love that. And yes, it's being in awe. Like
Mm,
that's what I think of is we get to see the wondrous, like kind of like being in awe of something, which is like when you see the creation for what it is. Like if you say like we were created in his likeness, and then you look at the body, and not just the body, even the mind, like
mm,
it's like you're basically in awe every day of
yeah.
something that and I mean, I know you can do it across all kinds of things that are creation, but when you're working with people, it's a gift, and you can lose sight of that. So I'm so glad you
Mm.
spoke into that. What would you leave people with? Like, what are you currently working on in your own leadership right now?
Is getting my associate up to speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you've, and I am not a master, but I hope I've learned something over 21 years, right? And coaching doctors.
Yeah.
So I would say this, I would leave a person with this: have grace. Have grace for the people in your lives, have grace for your patients, and have grace
Mm-hmm.
for yourself. Okay. And that can only come from the Lord. So, they're all on a journey. If you ever find yourself in the position of blaming patients, you're in a bad
Mm-hmm.
place. If you're blaming
Mm-hmm.
patients because they didn't come or they missed or this, and no, check your heart, not good. You're in trouble in your heart. Okay. If your team is your problem, that's not their team. Now there's experience, there's times that happens. So
Yeah.
I would just say, like, try to be, it was just so funny. I had a patient today, nice guy, sweet guy, been through a lot. His wife has a brain tumor. Like, the multimillionaire guy, doesn't matter, but like, he just wise, right? He's a few years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were just adjusting, just a normal visit. And he looks at me today and he just goes, hey, Ben, just remember. And we weren't even talking about any of this. He goes, just remember, be patient.
Mm.
And I was like,
Mm.
you know how it is, right? Patients sometimes, right? It's like, I don't even know. That's why I love practice. Like, he does like, what?
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh, have a good day. Like, and he's a man of faith. And I was like, yeah, because we can even think about that. If we were just a little bit if we're just a little bit ahead of where we're supposed to be, like with, outpacing the Lord, we'll be in this
Mm-hmm.
perpetual anxiety, right? And if we can just back
Mm.
up a little bit, get on with him, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
we're in a
That's
place of
good.
rest and peace. So like with my doctor, yeah, am I frustrated in the sense of where I wished or I know he could be? Sure. For his
Yeah.
benefit and the patient's benefit, I can tell you that whole story. Like, yeah, but also like I'm in his life to help mentor him and love on him and encourage him and bring him through and push him and challenge him and all those things. So I would say
Yeah.
a maturity that we would have, and if you're listening to this, you may need to kind of like grow up a little bit, right? Quit
Mm-hmm.
blaming everybody and quit, being grumpy pants and the sky is falling, and blah, blah, blah. And,
It's good.
and then be like, okay, now what can I do to be better, right? Better dad,
Yeah.
better husband, better leader, better doctor. All those things are real. So, but sometimes that does start with a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of grace, right?
Yeah.
If that's everybody else's fault, you were present you're the only commonality in all of those
Yeah,
equations. So,
totally. You're the only one.
but
Yes, that's
yeah,
good. This is so good. Thank you, Dr.
yeah.
Ben. I mean, I appreciate your vulnerability. I
Mm,
appreciate you sharing your kind of like pulling back the curtain and just like speaking into like, I know so many people will be able to relate to your story in so many different facets. So I appreciate just letting it out and leaving us with a grace note.
mm.
I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for doing this
Um,
show. There wasn't podcast when we started, right? So like this,
no.
now I hope that there's somebody, I don't know what something like this would have meant to me, 21 years ago, to just hear that I'm
No.
not alone and I'm not a loser and, there's hope, and just to kind of
Hmm.
point me in some other directions and things like that. So, it's bold to do these shows. It's not easy to find people that want to come and talk about the warts and the failures, right? But it's
Yeah.
important. And then there's
Yeah.
all the victories, and that's another part of this, and that's part of this story.
Yes.
So just good
Thousand
kudos to you
percent.
for doing this.
Well, thank you so much. And I so appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day, because I know you got a lot of people to serve today. So thank you for making time for us here. So
awesome.
Guys, if you want to follow Dr. Ben Rall and you want to be part of listening to his podcast, obviously you got a little snippet of how fired up he gets about chiropractic and healing and how you're designed to heal. I'll put a link in the show notes for that. But thank you, Dr. Ben Rall, for taking time for us. And we'll see you next week, guys. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to Burn It Better. Follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, tap 5 stars or write us a quick review. That's how this work is going to grow. I'd love to hear what stood out for you in this conversation. Share this episode, tag me at Southern_Chiro on Instagram, and pass it on to someone who needs it today.